Alright, what should we work on this time? Last time we created a toggle for editing so we can know when we're editing the scene, like design-wise, or if we're just moving things around during play. Now, because the toolbar is hidden behind the toggle, like you can't get to the primitives and you can't get to the transform, the only one that is accessible is the grab. You can grab an object with your hand, but only in immersive VR. And that makes it hard to test in 2D mode, and I think it makes it uneven. Like, I can't play along with you on the desktop if I can't grab anything. So maybe the first thing we should do is uh, allow grabbing in 2D mode. And we can just use maybe one of the shift keys and click. So if you do shift plus click, if there's a mesh there, then we'll send an event to say we grab that. But we need hands because by default, when we receive the message, we parent that object to the hand. And right now in 2D mode, we don't have hands. So we need to fix that first. So we need to fix 2D, which is called inline mode. Inline mode. Is it called inline mode? I think it is. Needs hands. We always need hands. Always need hands. Okay, so there's two problems to solve there. One is create avatar should always create hands. This is the JavaScript function that creates the cube for our head. And when the member move message contains left hand, right hand, we also create hands. But maybe we should just create the hands when we create the avatar. But that is for people seeing us. If we want to see our own hands, then maybe when we emit our, when we create our scene, like create camera, that represents us, should create our own hands. Which is a problem because when we go into XR mode, we have other hands there, don't we? So we need to handle enter XR hand creation and then exit XR hand reparenting, I guess. Okay, so there's a bit to consider when making hands available all the time. Let's start with ourself. Before we enter XR, when the camera is created, we'll create two hands. And let's explore this one. I don't remember what this is. When we enter XR, how are our hands created? I do believe we have some boxes which are created for that. So I think that's in XR Manager. We do this controller added callback, this observable. We assign these things, we do motion controller, we initialize the controller. Set up vibration listening, set up component listening, set up a new grip manager. Okay, I believe it's the grip manager that might create the box? Yes, I think the grip manager actually creates the model. Okay, then in here we say on model loaded observable. Here it is. The mesh name is avatar, member ID, hand. Okay, delete a previous if there was some race condition or a blip that made it. Okay, so we just kill it entirely. So we say if we found a mesh, then we dispose of it. And okay, that works out fine. And then you just create a brand new one. Create a box, blah blah blah. So we could have one that's parented to the face, and then when we enter XR, which would go down this path, it will create a new box. And how about when we exit XR? When we exit XR, we should probably remove this one and also recreate that was parented to the camera. That would happen in the on exit. Let's see, we do have some callbacks for when the state change. So here we emit XR state changed, so that allows us to listen for any kind of state change. In XR, not in XR, entering, exiting. So if we're exiting XR, that's interesting. I had some code here related to this, and it was about affecting the teleportation. Did I move that? Let me look at the teleportation manager. It's a side quest. Teleportation manager, and entering, exiting VR. Entering this populate teleportation with floors. Unpopulate. I don't know why you have to do this. Teleportation manager. So in the beginning we set that. Add floor mesh by name. I guess we don't need to do that. Okay. Anyway, let's remove this because it's confusing. Sorry about that little detour. Okay. We need a function that's going to add these hands. And do we have one as a utility? Because the utilities can be reused anywhere. That's the easiest way to share things, because if you put them in classes, then you got to import the whole class, you got to instantiate. But if you just have a function, you can use it anywhere. And so where are we creating the avatar and avatar hands? They might be pulled out into just a utility function. I believe we have a create avatar, find or create. Find or create avatar. And these are all defined here. And they don't need to be if we pass in the scene. So we can also create some scene functions. Scene, agent manager. So we can just make a thing here for about like avatar stuff. So let's say let's just call it avatar tills, not a class. So we'll go into scene manager and we'll move some of these functions. So first I want to take the avatar business, find or create avatar. I'll take this code and cut, then I'll put it here as export const find or create avatar, and it needs a scene, which is a Babylon scene. So we'll import everything from Babylon as Babylon from there. So let me get scene, scene, and equal. And then in the scene manager, we'll need to import find or create avatar from there, and then look for all the instances of find or create avatar. So here's one. So it's not this, it will just be this and this scene, this scene. I think that is all of them. Save that away and let's see if it still compiles. Let's open up Chrome to do some testing. Of course, we have not invoked the function until we see another avatar in the space. Okay, there, I think we can see each other now. Is that not us? A little higher. Oh, there's several boxes over there. Okay, their point of view is looking at a pill. Okay, I think they're looking over this way. So if I drag myself this way, yeah, then we can see each other. All right, everything seems to work. We can close this. We can close this. And next, let's also move the find or create avatar hand function. So in the scene manager, we look for find or create avatar hand. 3 references. So we'll copy this thing, cut, save, go over here, paste, export const, equal, and caret. We've got to take in, we've got to import pause rot, import pause rot from is it types? Okay. And then we need to take in the scene. So scene is Babylon.js scene. Then remove this. And then we have a function called animate component. So we might have to bring in animate component as well. Why are we animating it? We're just finding and creating it. So we get mesh by name. If there's no mesh, we create a box and then we orientate it that way. If there is a mesh, then we are changing the difference. I think maybe we'll take this part out. So if there's no mesh, then mesh is going to be created here. If there is a mesh, you just return the mesh. Because that's what we're doing with the find and create avatar, right? We just create a mesh, and this one doesn't even have a location. So it relies on something else to move it into place. This one, it happens to come with a position. And so let's cut this operation and save it. So back in Scene Manager, let's see what's broken. We have 2 references up here. So this is on an incoming that member entered. So you'll create the avatar and you'll move it there. And then for member movement, so this one doesn't include hands. For member movement, you will create the avatar, then you'll animate the avatar into position. And then for this one, you will create each hand, and there's no mention of moving them into position, so we should move them. So let's let this be const hand and const hand. I don't know why we're doing this twice. It's the exact same payload. One moment here. First, let's import the thing. So now we have the function. Coming back over here, let's do it this way. Payload left, payload right. And let's just do it for each of them so we can they should both be there. You can't have one or the other, can you? Not sure. Pasting the bit that I had removed before, and I think what we need is, I think this function is fine. Let's just capture this into a one-liner. So it can be this, create and move avatar hand, and we'll put the payload member ID and the payload orientation. In this case, it will be payload left. What is left? Actually, we don't know if it's left or right. It's the key. Member moved. One moment, let me look at what that event looks like. Member moved, member, and then the camera position rotation, and then the left hand and the right hand position rotation. I feel like we should do this with object keys on the payload. Okay. Create and move avatar hand. Takes the member ID, the handedness, and the pause rot of the hand. So then we just do find the avatar hand. We also need the scene. And this is just member ID, handedness, and the pause rod. That will create a hand, not move it into place. We can call this mesh. And then we'll animate it into place. I think we can test this as well. So we'll go into Chrome. So we're in this space. Oops. And we'll also go to Firefox. So let's turn so that we're facing each other. Let's find this guy. Where is it? Where is it? Where are you? Okay, so if we enter immersive here, we're going to need this bit. Okay, where am I? Okay, there are my two hands. Where we can't see this guy. Where did he go? He's behind us. I don't know where they are. Maybe we need to move it a little bit. Let's do this. Just give a little movement. Okay, he's near the top of the cone. Where's the cone? Cone, 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 cone. You're above the cone? Is that you? Oh, that's you. Okay. Now where are your hands? Your hands. Hold on. Deselect that. Here's a hand. Okay, and it is animating as far as I can tell. Okay, we're moving it around. Okay, so hand tracking is moving. And if I exit the WebXR now, exit immersive, that hand remained, which it shouldn't have, but all we did was move some code around. So functionally, this is entirely equivalent to what it was doing. No change at all. And let's close some files. Coming back. Let's see. Okay. Let's handle with the create camera. Should create our own hands. Now we can use the utility functions, right? Because the avatar utilities, when you find or create an avatar hand, it actually just creates them in some space, any space. Okay, let's try that. So in the scene manager, we have a function called create camera. It's representing ourself. Whoops. And this will get location of the previous saved space. So we can actually just create it at 0 orientation, left and right, right on top of each other, and then position them right into the camera, and so it'll all just be on top of each other. So here's the camera already, and then we're setting the rotation just fine. Let's create our hands. So I think we already have the utility imported, so it's find or create avatar hand for ourself, so this member ID. The hand will be left, and the position and rotation will be a 0, 0, 0. rotation will be 0, 0, 0, 1. So default 1, and then it'll be this scene. So it'll create the left, left, and const right. And then we need to parent this to the camera. So left parent is this free camera, and right parent is this free camera. And I think this might need to be extracted into a function itself so that we can reuse it. So let's say create inline hands, and we'll move this into here, and here we'll say this create inline hands. It's dependent on this free camera. And I can't really see if we're successful here if the position is so close to the camera. In fact, over here the camera is created, we don't see anything. And let's see what happens if we just find it. Maybe let's open the debugger. So orchestrator, debug. Should pull up something here. And if we look at our nodes under the camera, our free camera should have two hands left and right. So if this is not changing anything, but where's its position? So if you look at the position, it's at 0, 0, 0, and we want to move it forward from our point of view, which would be in the Z direction. So what happens if we set this Z value to maybe 5 meters? Oh, you see that? 3 meters, 2, 1, 0.12. Okay, so that gives us something we can kind of see through. And it's right where we want it. It's orientated right at us. So even if we kept it there, if we moved around, it's like always parented to us in our face. Now it's kind of in our way that way. Let's change its visibility so we can see through it and still debug it. So let's do 0.2. Oh, sorry, in the Z direction, 0.2. This one should also be 0.2, but maybe offset them a bit so the left one can go a little bit to the left, 0.1. This one can go a little bit to the right, so it'd be 0.1. Positive 0.1. And what does that give us? Oh yes, we also want to say that the left visibility becomes 0.1, and the right visibility is also 0.1. Okay, we see the shadow of some hands, this ghost of some hands. Very good. Now, if we enter XR, it should remove it entirely because that's what that function does. We go here, we're in XR, the ghosts are removed entirely, and if I come back to, so let's go to WebXR. Here's the new hands, they've been moved over here, and if we exit immersive, we come back, and then we go back into the debug thing, we will see that the camera no longer has it, even though its own hands were not removed. And I think we should remove them. We probably should remove them when we exit. Or the next thing that creates them should destroy them. So when we exit, we can create a function in XR Manager. Is that when we are exiting, see what are the states in here? Then we can destroy the hands that we have. We should probably have a find method. And this will just say the mesh name is this, and we get this. And so we can just return, we need the scene as well. Scene. So then we can just use this. Let mesh equal find avatar hand with this member ID and the hand name and the scene. We don't need this. We still need that mesh name. This just makes it idempotent. You can also have one for destroying the avatar hand, which I think is still here. Remove avatar hand and remove avatar, which will probably move them into those functions are. So remove avatar hand, copy this, or cut this, save. Remove, okay, let's do export const. I think we can have a hand mesh name. It's easy enough to just do that. Avatar hand, member hand. Avatar member hand. So okay, we need the scene. And actually, this is just find avatar hand with the member ID and the hand and the scene. If you find it, dispose of it. And the scene manager can import that as remove avatar hand. And let's see, what errors do we have? here. We'll just say remove avatar hand, give this scene, give this scene. Is that it? Let's also move this whole remove avatar into, so cut, save, put this whole function for, oh shoot, oh no, oh no, copy, cut, save, paste, X, export const, remove avatar, takes the scene, and we're looking for the mesh, which will just be get meshed by the avatar name, and then we'll dispose of that, and then also dispose of the hands. We import the function, and I think we're good. We've also reduced the line. This is a very large file, and we've reduced it to 600 lines, where we took out 50 or so lines of code. Okay, so we can remove the avatar, remove its hands, add hands, a bunch of utilities here. And in the XR manager, we want to know the state. What are the states here? Web XR state, which are let's look at this. XR state changed. XR, not there, sorry. Just go to the signal hub. XR state change. XR state change. It says it's one of this. Entering XR. So there's 4 states. If you're exiting XR, that's when you should remove the hands and put back your old hands. If you're entering the XR, you don't need to do anything. The existing functionality will do that. Okay, so back to XR Manager. Who is actually listening to XR state changed? Out of curiosity. Signal Hub has this menu manager. Oh, okay, yeah, menu manager has to change a lot of things. Grip manager. Oh, okay, to know when we're stopped listening to certain events. Good. XR manager. Okay, excellent. Exiting XR. This is very good right here, actually. XR manager. Okay, so I think in the place where we're creating the camera, we can create a listener. Create camera. Actually, in the create inline hands. We're only going to create this camera once. We're only going to create the inline hands. Let's put it here. So we create a listener that says signal hub on XR state changed pipe, and you're exiting the XR. You will remove the current hands, remove XR hands. Actually, why is it this responsibility? Why don't you remove your own hands when you exit it? I mean, we can just do remove avatar hand, this member ID left, so you remove it if it exists, which it won't the first time. Scene, this is just a precaution, and then also remove the right. And then you'll create the left and the right, parent it, and then anytime you exit XR, you'll redo this thing, which is this create inline hands. What if you were holding something? That could screw things up. Since we just dispose, I think we should just drop whatever we have. So let's list that as a to-do. When recreating, disposing, and recreating hands, what happens if we were holding something at the time? It's very easy to do because you're holding something and you press the flat button on the left controller. You're going to bounce back to this, and of course that thing is going to be destroyed, and I think the thing you're holding onto it also gets disposed. And nobody else gets a release. So it's something to be worked out. Right now we're only fixing from our own perspective. We also need to figure out other people's perspective. If they're watching us and we enter or exit XR, do we don't need to recreate the hands, because the whole point is they shouldn't know. We have hands all the time. Not sure about that. Let's think about that some more, but let's save this. Let's test what we've just written here. So here's my ghost hands. I enter VR. Those get replaced. I now have two new hands, and I'll just move them around a bit. So that's one hand moving around. You see the box attached to it. And now I'm going to exit immersive, and I get back my ghost hands. So that is something of an improvement. And then I always have them, even if I'm not sending hand data. I have them in the scene. Okay. Next, we'll take a break here, but we'll see from the other point of view what those hands look like. Because right now, if I just come over to Firefox and I load up and look at that other person, I don't think we're drawing hands for them. So we have, okay, let's move to somewhere where we can see, where are, back up, where are you? There you are. And if I just move a little, oh, we do see some hands, but they're not parented. They're not parented in this other view. Yeah, in fact, if I move around, they're not parented at all, even though they're in my space. In fact, where's this guy? Here. Where are your hands? Yeah, I don't think we're making them. Okay, I think that's when I entered and exited VR. Is that what happened? Okay, you can see this. So if I enter, okay, yeah, those were my hands. And so if I move my hand around, you can kind of see it. If I exit, there is no change here. They're abandoned. So how do we handle that? We'll figure that out next time.